I was actually driving down here, 3-hour drive with Jay in the car, and I was thinking about how I got here. And I began to think about my father. It sounds kind of odd that I was thinking about my father. And thinking about my father, some of you may know, my father passed away when I was very young. I was 11 years old when he died of cancer. But I remember how much I loved him. He taught me how to be a man, and how in many ways I wanted to emulate him. But there were ways I didn't want to emulate him. My father, when it came to discipline, let's just say he was a bit overzealous. He was someone who would, slap first and ask questions later, if at all, right? Now, when that happened, and I, of course, knew he loved me, that was what I thought, that's how I was raised. When I have my own children, now I have 2 children, I have a girl 13, another girl 7. I didn't want to be that way. I didn't want to be the overzealous, over-aggressive, violent father. I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be that, so I decided I wasn't going to strike my kids at all. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying I chose not to because I knew what was in me. Because when I saw my children making me angry, I felt the desire to still do it because it was what was in me. It's how I was taught. It's what I learned. I was becoming my father. I know many of you in your life, I'm sure, have seen times when you kind of become your mother or your father, right? No one? I'm the only one? Good, yes, you have. Good, exactly, right? Times when things have happened and in your head you can hear your mother's voice or hear your father's voice in your head thinking, oh, yes, and you almost realize, oh, I've become my father. Well, I think all of us often do that. It's common. Here's the funny part, though. Didn't most of us rebel? Most of us said, I'm not going to be like you, Dad, or I'm not going to be like you, Mom. I'm special, I'm different, I'm not going to be like you. When I grow older, I won't be like you. But many of us find ourselves being just like our mother and father, don't we? Mm-hmm. We do. America has become its father. We have become the British Empire. We have become our father. And we fought and we yelled and we screamed, no, no, King, I won't be like you ever. I won't be like you. No, I won't. Anybody remember the old saying about the British Empire? The sun never sets in the British Empire. Remember that? Yeah. Yeah. We have dozens upon dozens of countries with hundreds and hundreds of bases. The sun never sets in our empire. Yeah. We become our father. Yeah. We become our father. But there's more. The British Empire had the largest and most powerful navy in the world, didn't it? So do we. We become our father. But it's not just external, it's also internal. Some of you, Karen did some history lessons for us. Let me give you some you might remember this. Anybody remember Admiralty courts from the 1700s? Anybody know what that is? Anybody know what Admiralty courts are? Anybody? Yes? Tell me, please. What's the Admiralty court?
They were able to...
Yeah, so go ahead.
They were able to try people in a military court without any, being burdened by civil rights.
Yeah, so no more about civil rights. And what the best part about Admiralty courts were is how they get paid. Anybody remember how they got paid? They got paid of a cut from the fines that they chose to give. Civil asset forfeiture, war on drugs, we have become our father. But not just that. How about we have a system to where people get arrested, people go to jail, and they come out of jail, and they can't vote, can they? Most states, they can't vote, right? You're a felon, you can't vote, right? Oh my God. They can't vote, but are they taxed? Yes, they are. That's taxation representation, isn't it? We fought a war over that. We become our father. In every case, we have become our father. Again, we've allowed our nation to all of a sudden turn us into our father. Now you might say, well, Larry, that's crazy. No, it's normal, it's natural, it's what we're doing. We have to see it though, because you will know this in your own lives. If you don't try, you become your parents. If you don't actually look and say, there are aspects of my parents I don't want to become, you kind of take them all. We have to try not to. We're making that happen now as our nation. All of a sudden now, we become our father. But there's even more. Or should I say, let me go one step further. So yes, we have to go even further than that. It's not just the fact that all of a sudden we have this taxation representation, we have an external empire. We also have something else. When we left and we shook our fist at our father, we said, when we left, we said, we care about one thing, Dad, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, right? Remember what we said when we left? So we care about, Dad. We're not like you. We're not like you, Dad. But now what are we about? We're about law and order, aren't we? About safety, aren't we? American interests, That's what we're about now. We become our Father. And once you later said we have to become our Father. But there's something to remember though. My father, as much as I loved him tremendously, I also knew he loved me. So when my father did things that I wasn't happy about, as many of you know, if you've had parents who were aggressive before the things you didn't like, they always had two excuses, two reasons. The first reason was, remember the first reason? Why did I do something to you?
For your own good.
It's for your own good. Oh yes, it's for your own good. Absolutely. I'm doing this because it's for your own good. Isn't that what our government does? It does it to us for our own good. That's the reason why, for our own good. Yeah, you become our Father. But there's always one other one. If whatever he did made no sense, and I didn't get it, didn't understand it, what was the second reason why he did it?
Because I said so.
Because I said so. Absolutely right. Because I said so. Exactly right. That's the second reason, because I said so. We have that now, don't we? It's the law. It doesn't matter if the law is unethical. It doesn't matter if the law is immoral. It doesn't matter if the law makes any sense. It doesn't matter if the law hurts. That is irrelevant. Lawbreaker. Gotta punish him. Because I said so. Because I said so is where we are now. And I want you in your head to think about what's happened to our nation and why that's happening in our states, in the world, how that's happening, how we become our Father. If you think about that, all of a sudden now, you think of what our society's become a little bit differently. You also talk to people in a different way. You can get them to hear it, because here's the issue. Even though it was because I said so, or it was for your own good, my father believed that to be true and real, and he loved me. And the people in our country now who are passing laws because it's your own good, or punishing you because it's the law, they aren't bad people. Many of them actually care about you tremendously. Many of them actually love you. Many of them think it's the right answer. We can't assume they're evil or bad, no more than I could assume my father was evil or bad. I can't assume that. I have to assume these people are good people who are trying to do the right thing. We have to have the right conversations. We have to make that change in their mind of, no, wait a minute, do you really want to be your father? Do you want to become that person that you shook your fist and said, I'll never be like you? You want to become that person? I hope you don't, because that's what our nation is becoming, slowly. But as you can see, pretty surely. All right, so while we have that, that's great. What are we going to do about it? How do we make that change, the transition? There's an external issue and also an internal issue. Externally, outside, our empire, and what we do outside. Has anybody ever seen the movie from the 80s, Gandhi? Seen the movie? Yeah, one of my favorite movies. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a great part in the movie where Gandhi is talking, I think it's 1930s, he's talking to the British Empire. He's talking to our dad. All right, so he's talking to the British Empire and all the representatives, and one of the generals goes to him and says, yeah, excuse me, Mr. Gandhi, you don't just expect us to walk away from India, do you? You know what he said? He said, yes. I expect you to walk away from India. When eventually we don't want to do what you want to do, you'll realize you just walk away. You can't win, just walk away. Now, why do I say that? How many of you here have had a mother or father who has kind of tried to make you somebody who you maybe weren't? Anybody here? So a couple, all right. Did it work? Yeah, a lot of no's. Didn't work, exactly. At one point, the force doesn't work, right? So at one point, they get it doesn't work. Well, he knew the British would realize the force doesn't work, and they would walk away. So the British Empire now, if you look at the British Empire now, and its relationship with other colonies it's had, particularly Africa, not so good. Michael Pickens did an event with me in New York City last year. And remember that event we did? We had that Nigerian guy in the audience?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of your examples was example from the UK, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How did he feel about that?
Not happy.
Oh boy, was he mad. A lot of Africans do not like the UK at all. A lot of them don't. They have a really negative feeling. Because the UK didn't just walk away. The UK fought to the last minute in most of those colonies. Held on to the best of its ability. It didn't just walk away. Why do I say that? Because here's our answer. Our answer is just walk away. Because guess where we are right now? We're in Afghanistan, just like our father. We're in the Middle East, just like our father. Time for us to just walk away. And you might say, Larry, that's crazy. How can we walk away? That's insane. They hate us because we're free, right? How can we possibly walk away? They hate us because we're free. Well, it's funny. They hated someone else before us, didn't they? We said this is free. In fact, we were freer. 120 years ago, we were freer. They didn't hate us then. They hate people who were there. That's who they hate, right? But as our Father didn't want us to have our own wars, we don't want them to have their own wars. We have played the same game. We should just walk away. But Larry, if we walk away, that's terrible because they're going to bomb us and kill us and they're still going to hate us. And right. Yeah, they might for a while. They might. But eventually they'll stop and they'll fight whoever else is there. And we can just walk away. Is there an example of us doing that? Yeah, it's called Vietnam. We walked away. And Vietnam is now a trading partner. We just walked away. At one point we said the violence doesn't work. Let's just walk away. But the most important thing about Vietnam, anybody who was around that remembers that, what was the fear? Why did we have to fight in Vietnam? Who remembers? Domino effect. Absolutely, domino effect. If Vietnam falls, all of Asia falls. All of Asia falls, the world becomes communist. If we don't stop ISIS, what happens? Domino effect. All of a sudden there'll be a caliphate. All of a sudden the whole world become Islam. Haven't we heard this before? The answer is just walk away. The answer is if you don't want to be like your father, don't be like your father. That's the answer. The answer is if you don't want to be like your father, don't be like your father. That's the answer. Internally, we have a war on drugs, a war on terror. We're terrorizing our citizens, right? We're putting us all in jail. How do we stop that?
Walk away. Just stop.
Some of you remember my speech from Orlando, and I made a comment about parenting. You remember this. I said, the Democrats want to be your mother, right? You want to be your mom. I'm going to protect you, I love you, hug and kiss, give you goodies, feed you, keep you warm. People like that. Feels good. Feels good. Republicans will be your father. I'm going to protect you, right? I got you covered. Yeah! I'm your father, tough guy. Well, feels good too. Libertarians want to be your brother or your sister. You want to be someone who cares about you, who wants you to do well, but doesn't want to live with you. Doesn't want to live with you. And you want to have your own family and go away, you know, and then all of a sudden when we get together to help out for mom's birthday, we get together temporarily, help mom out, and then we go back to our own homes. We want to be your brother. We should think of ourselves as brothers and sisters, not parents. And if you care about your brother and sister, and many of you have siblings, or even people you love in your life, you know something, and that is, many of them have failed. And if you gave them a second chance, many of them came back. We used to be a nation of second chances. We used to be a nation of second sons. All the first sons stayed in Europe, right? All the second sons came here. People who wanted a second chance came to this country. People who fell down got back up. If any of you read any books on biographies, what do you always hear the same thing? This guy or gal tried something great, fell on their face, got back up, awesome, life is good, they became powerful. That's the story of us all. Many of you in this room I know have had some serious personal failures, professional or personal, either one. And when you had that failure, boy, that stuck, didn't it? That you remembered. That you learned from because that one stung. That one you remembered. But if we're a nation of one strike and you're out, how do we grow? When you're concerned only about law and order, and only about righteousness and interests, and that's all you care about, you become a nation of first strikes. That's what the British Empire was. Because if you weren't born into greatness, you didn't get to be great. That's not what America was about. We were a nation of amateurs, right? Nation of amateurs who did great, who became powerful and strong. If we re-engage that part of who we are as Americans, all of a sudden things change. We can't just be a nation of laws and law and order. We must be a nation of second chances. A nation of second sons, a nation of amateurs. That's what makes us great, internally versus externally. Thank you.